As a committee, we decided to keep the OCR on hold to support the economic recovery while ensuring that inflation will decline toward the 2% target midpoint over the next year. When are we going to learn that the external is created from the internal? We're going to have to go and do the shit.
Business is supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy.
Stop waiting for this magic inflation number, this magic interest rate, and execute your strategy.
Just because the media have got this narrative that they're trying to spin of this doom and gloom and you should feel like this, you should have enough control and understanding of your own position that you go, no, I don't align and I don't think to that because I'm in complete control of my own balance sheet, my destiny, my P&L, that I need to subscribe to that. I'm going to carry on.
The Reserve Bank have come out this week and said that they're going to keep the official cash rate at 2.25%. There's almost a bit of a collective sigh of relief amongst some of the mortgage holders around the country, Phil.
Yeah, look, I didn't see the announcement until the afternoon. It had the hype in the days leading up to it, as it normally does, and peaked the old interest. No pun intended there.
Sharp.
Yeah, I thought so. Not bad for a bit of a dad joke on a Friday afternoon. But I don't have to worry because all of my debt on my current bank-owned home is fixed. And I fixed that, being the smart guy that I am, at the bottom of the market.
Nice. Yeah.
If you want top tips on how to finance your debt, contact Next Advisory, not mortgage brokers.
Because there was chat that the official cash rate is going to sneak back up. I think there was a lot of economist chat that it's going to stay the same at this, but it will be rising. But it's almost like they've signaled, maybe not, maybe we can stay here. But do they, don't they? Don't know. I think this is where the Reserve Bank is now starting to disagree with some of the economists, and the economists are saying, well, let's see who ends up right or wrong at the end of this year.
To me, it certainly it feels like there's some friction between the guys that are apparently in control at the Reserve Bank and then economists going, this is what we think's going. I think there's a lot of debate in terms of what people are seeing in terms of I did read Kiwibank, Jared Kerr and his team, I think they put out some really easy to read commentary and they're like, it needs to stay at 2.25 until I think late this year, early next. They're just like, we need to see some strong signs of recovery. We've got other people out there that are just going, we're already starting to see a recovery. If we don't time this right, we're back into this vicious cycle. And then the last piece of friction, I think, is ultimately the consumers. I'm just going, we just want to feel good about stuff and a little bit certain that I know that my job's safe because the business that I'm working for can afford its debt repayments and can pay the IRD on time. And I can pay my mortgage and then I can go, I've got enough disposable income that I can go on the holiday that I've been delaying for the past 2 years.
Well, I'll dig into the video transcript of the update from Anna Bremen, who's the governor of the Reserve Bank of New Zealand and now the chair of the Monetary Policy Committee. And she said, today the Monetary Policy Committee agreed to hold the official cash rate at 2.25%. We know that many New Zealanders are feeling stretched right now with costs for some essential items like food and electricity being much higher than they were a year ago. Meanwhile, while some parts of the country have benefited from high export prices, new job opportunities remain scarce, especially in the bigger cities. As a committee, we decided to keep the OCR on hold to support the economic recovery while ensuring that inflation will decline toward the 2% target midpoint over the next year. We expect inflation will be low and stable going forward. Over the next year, you might notice businesses seem more optimistic and open to investment, and that jobs become easier to find. You may also notice that prices aren't going up as fast as they have been. If the economy evolves as expected, interest rates are likely to remain around their current levels for some time. I encourage you to read more about how the Monetary Policy Committee is viewing the economy. No one's going to read that. Come on, Anna. That's why they're watching this. Mate, I'm going to take a screenshot of that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is the most calming sort of, don't worry, it's all good type message, especially your first delivery, because I believe this is this your first one?
Yep.
Yeah, and really sort of setting the tone. So I can't wait in a year's time to see, okay, how did it actually play out compared to what they're suggesting here?
Did they share in there the vote split at the committee level? Were they unanimous? Because I think at the previous last meeting with old Crispy Shrewsbury, that it was like a 5-2 split or 3-2 split or something.
Yeah, I don't know if they
Is
do.
that not in the vote thing? It doesn't matter. I was just curious.
Yeah, I haven't seen it anywhere, but it normally is. So that was, it probably will be in here. I might be able to find it as we go.
But it's just interesting that same language around jobs, cost of living, and giving people some certainty. And it's just, I think at the end of the day, as we've said before on so many times, that if you're a household or a business owner listening to this, in particular business owners, like, what do you need to make a decision? And then when you've got everything, just fucking pull the trigger and go.
Yeah.
I think there's just so much delay. And we talk to so many clients in the construction space, big, large scale construction, not, and no disrespect to the tradies, um, but there's some big projects out there that are consented and financed, ready to go, but they're not going because we're waiting. And it's just like everything's lined up. What are we waiting for?
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's holding up the progress of an economy coming out of a recovery. And ultimately, if you want them back in, a national led government, because they're going on the down the road of like stable economic recovery, all of that kind of stuff. And the data's yet to really show that we're there. Everybody says, "Oh, there's early signs, there's this and that," and I think it's probably anecdotal and a little bit could be risk of premature optimism. We've said on a few occasions, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but we cast our mind back 12 months. We come back from the holidays. What was everybody's mood?
Last year.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, we survived to 25.
everyone was happy.
Mm.
We're into 2025. This is our chance to turn over a new leaf. This is our year. Like, it's been absolute shit. And then what happened? It was crap.
Mm.
And we're now at the same at 2026. We've had, on most accounts, a pretty average to below average summer weather-wise. That impacts people's moods, but people are generally optimistic and happy out there because they've had a holiday, they're feeling good. But is there enough fuel in the fire to keep the optimism alive?
Yeah, I think something we always talk about is that, we have aspirational clients, so then they're probably more internally motivated
Mm,
than most, and so they will go and take this action. So then we say, "Hey, go do these things and try and help other people to do the same thing," right? But so many people are looking for these external signs that, mummy's going to pat me on the back. That means I can borrow for the ute. Oh, inflation's come down. Oh, then okay, maybe I will buy my
mm.
equipment, or I'll knock on the door and do some advertising. Or, oh, Adrian said that it's all going to get better, so business confidence went up, and it's when are we going to learn that the external is created from the internal? Like we're going to have to go and do the shit first.
Preach it.
Mm.
I've got a fantastic example, and I'll be the first one to admit investment boost. I got it wrong. May last year got announced in the budget. I got jacked up about it. Some might even say I was a little bit horny and excited because I was like, "This is what the country's been looking for." And then, at a very high level, and we've spoken in a lot of detail. I went to the New Zealand Economic Forum last week, and Nicola Willis, finance minister, announced some statistics about investment boosts. And I listened to that, and I'm like, "It's been a failure." And I think the problem with it is they've announced policy that they thought would create confidence. And after listening to all of the intelligent people that presented at the forum, I'm just like, they've got this the wrong way around with policy announcements. They need to create the confidence and the certainty first that will then drive use
Mm.
of the policy. And so it's almost that what comes first, the horse or the cart, and that they were thinking, oh, investment boost is going to create all of this money spinning through the economy. Well, money's not going to spin through the economy unless the people have got the confidence to spend it. Fix the confidence first, then people will use investment boost. And I think that's been a real telltale sign there
Yeah.
that to what you're talking about, you need to fix the internal
Mm.
before we move to the external.
I really hope that they don't get rid of that investment boost though, because I do think that it's a little like it's finally a bit of a sweetener, especially as the economy turns for
Yep.
people to tax plan a bit differently. To okay, maybe I will do, I'll buy it brand new rather than secondhand, and finally something for the business owners. So hopefully they do leave it there.
Well, Nicola Willis, for people who didn't tune in or haven't seen the coverage of it, outright asked Barbara Edmonds, the Labor finance spokesperson, and her mates, hey, look, if you guys actually do win this election, and look, it's 50-50,
Mm.
are you going to keep investment boost? And Barbara got up after lunch, pretty tasty lunch as well, and was silent, didn't say a thing, got absolutely peppered in the Q&A forum about will you keep the investment boost from yours truly, and didn't get an answer. So
Interesting.
yeah, it was interesting, and they did say Labor, Barbara, that any policies around tax and finance that type of stuff would be announced after the budget. So we've got to wait until after May.
Well, mate, I'm trying to get better at not making up names for all these politicians, just for fear that someone will throw us under the bus and
See,
But I've got a
Yeah,
cracker. I've got a cracker. Okay.
here
So
we go.
if she gets into power and she becomes the finance minister for the country
Yes.
and she gets it wrong,
Well, here we go.
surely the title is basically Barbara Edmonds cooked books. That is
Yes,
standard,
that's
isn't it?
brilliant. And the others, as you were saying that, I thought, I know where you're going, Edmonds, and their classic sign, sure to rise.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, house prices with their
Yeah. Oh, there is so many things.
We are going to have a field day.
I might burn accounting and go work at Stuff, and I'll write the subhead titles or whatever they're called.
Have
Hey,
you ever considered going down to that comedy place on open mic night,
Oh,
just around the road from the office?
shit, I reckon I either get cancelled or find a new career. Big goals start with planning, and that's why we run 90-day business planning sessions one-on-one with aspirational business owners. Together, we help you set clear targets and start taking action straight away, and action on the things that matter, like pricing, margin, cash flow, ideal customers, and making sure that you're moving the needle to get closer to where you want to be. We've got tons of strong Google reviews in this space, so go and check those out. This could be perfect for you if you're after no fluff business planning and are keen on accountability. If you want to apply to book your 90-day plan, go to nextadvisory.nz and let's see if this is a good fit for you. Hey, one thing I spotted recently and I was blown away by is, do you know what the average inflation, well, actually, let's ask the listeners because I'll show you what it is and you tell me if you're surprised or not. The average compound inflation rate in New Zealand over the last 100 years. So year on year compound inflation rate. Have a think, listeners, what you think it may be, and I'll show Phil what it is here.
But that number there,
Yeah.
wow.
It is 4.2% according to the Reserve Bank's inflation calculator. Now, mate,
100 years.
I haven't been around for 100 years, but apparently in here there were some major inflation shocks, and I'm sure some of our older listeners will say, yes, that's what's dragging the average up.
Your mum?
Hi, Mum. How we doing? But, you know, isn't that a sign right there that, hey, maybe we live through another hyperinflation shock or a low or a high?
My immediate reaction to that was the Reserve Bank have failed every year in 100 years. Because if they'd done that job, that number would be under 3%.
Yeah. Well, I think they set that target of 1 to 3%, like, I don't know. So I don't know the history of it, but even over the last 25 years, if I go Q4 to now, like it has been 2.5%.
Okay.
So,
All right.
but even that's over the last 25 years. So you think,
Yeah,
like, okay, they're saying, oh, it'll be perfectly at 2% at the end of this year. Instantly, I call bullshit. I'm like, no, you're not that good. If there's a metric of 1 to 3, like,
Yeah.
how is it going to be at 2?
Two.
You
Yeah.
know, like, let's
You're
be
not
real.
that good. They're
No.
brilliant.
Yeah, so, you know, 25 years track record is 2.5. But my point being for the people out there, stop like waiting for this magic inflation number, this magic interest rate, and execute your strategy. And I think that's why, because I quizzed Brad Olson, I was like, what do people actually need to see to say, oh, the economy's feeling good again? And he unpacked it with his answer. But it's much like I think we've talked about before. People will get to the end of 2026 and won't know if they've had a good year because they haven't even thought about what makes a good year for them.
At a high level for the people that haven't heard, what was his?
Basically what you explained before. So,
Oh.
you know, like certainty, wages, and that, you know, you're not going to lose your job.
Right.
Costs aren't, you know, running away on you and just the basic sorts of things. But because, you know, feeling is very subjective, right? So it's thinking, you know, when the media talk about like, oh, people don't feel good out there. Well, you know, what does that even mean? And that I'm sure has a different, like, I'm probably sure what I was getting at is like, there's no defined economic definition of like, this is when people feel good because there's all these different metrics.
And then if you're feeling good on your own, it's almost because of New Zealand's tall poppy syndrome, you're made to feel bad for feeling good when everyone else is feeling bad.
Yes.
Because like our business, through our own efforts consistently, there was a point there for me personally, things were going pretty good. Like not as good as they probably had done in some years, but in the context of where things were going, pretty good. And it was almost like, oh, I shouldn't stick my head up and say that because there's actually quite a bit of suffering going on.
And how sad is that we have to live like that, eh?
Yeah. And then now that we've come through the upside and everyone else is now starting to feel good, it's just like, yeah, I'm not feeling good, eh? I'm feeling fucking great.
You are fired up.
And it's just like, it's almost like there's a little bit of shame of like, don't stick your head up and shout that. And I think the key there for people is just like, just because the media have got this narrative that they're trying to spin of just like doom and gloom, and you should feel like this, you should have enough control and understanding of your own position that you go, no, 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 I don't align and I don't think to that because I'm in complete control
Mm.
of my own balance sheet, my destiny, my P&L, that I need to subscribe to that. I'm going to carry on.
Yeah, and like I think the danger is Kiwi people grab onto the shit that happens out there and that they see in the media or people saying to them, and then it stops them from actually going and taking action on what it is that they should be doing. And what got me thinking about this is that I saw someone saying, how risky business is because 70% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. And I thought, a bit like, okay, how do you know if you feel good? I'm like, what's the definition of failure?
Mm,
What makes a business fail? Because in my mind, I'm like, failure means this idea didn't work, the market didn't want it,
mm.
and they had to shut it down because it doesn't want it. Well, it turns out, A, that 70% stat's bullshit, because I pulled stats from Stats New Zealand and business.gov.nz.
Yeah, other stats from Stats New Zealand up to date, though.
They're from last year. um, but secondly, fail
Mm.
is just could be that they shut it down. So you got people
Voluntarily.
yeah,
Right.
like, okay, I'm over this. And then I thought, well, okay, think in this day and age, if someone doesn't last 5 years at a job, which is very common,
Mm.
do we say, oh, you failed at your job? No, I left because I was a bit over it. I went and go, oh, no, you failed. You definitely failed. You're a fucking failed employee. Come on, you didn't even do 5 years. What do you do? So, I
Yeah.
reckon the percentage of people that don't even make it through 5 years of employment will probably be higher.
Because the context is when you're in business, it's business for life.
Mm.
You can't wake up one morning and go, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore.
But how often do we see people start something and go, I'm not cut out for this,
Yeah.
and then voluntarily go, you know what, I'm out of here. Or they go, right, we're going to finish that business and we're going to start something different. And this is what the statistic or these stats are basically picking up is, okay, who is finishing their business, but they might go on to something else. But
Mm.
basically stats say that around 8 to 10% of businesses cease within the first year, but around 30 to 40% cease within 5 years. So it's not 70 fail
Mm.
in the first 5 years. But what I was blown away by, and shout out to the government, and there's not many shout outs to the government on
Oh.
this pod,
Oh.
okay, is that data for business, they've got the stats data here, and they've
Yep.
actually got updated stats. Are pretty well, when I say updated, 2025, I'm pretty sure, but it's got how many enterprises we have in New
Yeah.
Zealand,
Is this
612,000. Yeah, I think that's the same thing, isn't it?
Oh, there's so many departments.
Okay, yeah,
Can't
who
keep up.
knows? Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
they were all getting, I shouldn't say that. But they've actually got data on the size of the business and the
Yeah.
average years in business by business size.
Wow.
So you can go through, okay, if it's got 0 employees, 1 to 5, 6 to 9, 10.
Mate, you're going on to websites that a journalist would have never been to.
Well, mate, I'd never found this one before either.
Yeah, well,
so-
and I mean, if you hadn't found it, a journalist sure as shit wouldn't have found it. And that's
No.
why this staff
Yeah.
isn't going to make the headlines that could actually potentially paint a different story.
So one thing that stuck out for me, and then we'll get back on track. Should I sound like I'm working for National now? Are we back on track? We're certainly not. 1 to 5 employees. So just to take you through it quickly, 92% are still in business at the end of year 1, 80 year 2, 70, 62, 55, 51, 47, 44, 41, 38%. So 38% of those businesses are still in business after 10 years. But if you look at sole traders, contractors, so 0 employees, at the end of year 1, only 84% are. So it's less than businesses. And then at the end of year 10, only 1 in 4 is. So only 25% is still going.
Wow.
That makes a lot of sense, right? Okay, I did a contracting role. It lasted 2 years. It lasted 3 years. Okay, I finished that. I'm now moved to Australia.
My mind immediately goes to, particularly for the businesses that are 1 to 5,
Yeah.
over that time horizon. I don't know whether the data's in there, but what happens if they move up a bracket?
Good point.
And they scale and they become, because that's everybody's dream. I've got an idea.
Yeah.
I've started it in my garage, and then next minute they're got 100 employees, and the next minute they're 0 and they're listed on the ASX.
Bloody beautiful. Or Halter or who knows who. Yeah, it can. And it can.
Yeah,
be
it
done.
just I mean that's just the weird places my brain goes to. But it does show that business is supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy, and it's good to see that there are still businesses hanging in. It's not that 70% stat.
Yeah, and I think as well, because the other thing that I keep seeing the benders in the comments saying shit like record liquidations, bad time to be in business. Like, yeah, there were record lows during the recession, champion, like chill out, like go and have a look at the data. So of course there's going to be a lag and they're going to catch up. But also, Brad pointed this out to me, as a percentage of businesses in the economy compared to the GFC, the liquidations at the moment don't even come close to the percentage because we've got way more businesses.
Ah,
So we might
obviously
have like
percentage terms,
record liquidations or
numbers.
like high as the GFC, but as a percentage of the total businesses, it's way lower.
Yeah.
Like, oh, geez, this man is
Yeah.
like, But anyway, what I guess the
How
reserve.
interesting though, from did you say the GFC?
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
was 2008
Mm.
to 2028. So that's what, 18 years later. The economy obviously has grown
Yeah.
because we've got more businesses.
Well, you won't believe it, but that page that I was just on that I've just closed down, that has the record of how many open and how many closed in each year as well.
Really?
Yeah, so they're doing some good, but every year
Mm.
there are more businesses open than are closed. However, and the data finishes it in 2024. Stats data, mate.
Yeah.
And it nearly matches up. It's like, so I think 68,000 started, 66 closed. So I'm fascinated to see what happens for 2025.
What month are we now? February. IRD are up to date with their data as of last year, and we've got to wait for their annual report to the end of
June.
and then they release that in September, October, eh?
Yeah, once Audit New Zealand have reviewed it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Hey, and it's before the election.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you reckon it's going to start with a 10?
10 billion worth of unpaid tax.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah?
I reckon they would have written heaps off and they'll be like, oh, we don't count that. That just got wiped off the face of the earth.
I reckon, I reckon that they'll get it down to 8
Yeah.
before there's some crystal ball gazing
Mm.
because there's going to be, and we're way off track already from
Like
inflation.
us.
But I reckon that to suit the narrative of re-election, hey, we've got the tax debt under. It's now gone from being 10 billion to 8 billion.
I see.
The IRD are working, that's all because of a recovering economy. But the journalists will then come in and go, no, you're missing the point. They've written off a whole heap of debt to make it look good. They're damned if they do or they're damned if they don't, because
Yeah.
it was last printed, I think, at about 9 billion. The 10, I don't think, has officially came out, but it's what everyone's talking about. I think if it goes to 10 or close to 11, they're going to get grief
Roasted.
anyway.
Mm.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what path they go.
Just before we get back on track with the rest of the national MPs, I did spot this graph that I thought was fascinating, mate. Now, this is the number of enterprises and employees. So it's tracking, for those listening, like a bar graph of the number of businesses in business and then the number of employees, I assume, employed by those number of businesses. But you can see that it's growing since 2013. But you end up, the businesses stop, the employees are outgrowing the number of businesses. So basically, that reads to me that the same level of businesses are hiring more people. So more people are employed by,
That's the way I read it. Yeah.
but then it drops. Look at 2024,
Yeah.
it then peaks and then it drops in 2025.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. So once it gets to what's this year, is at 2022, there's, then the employees are like, there's clearly been plenty of employment and then bang, it falls off not falls off a cliff, but it
But there's a
definitely shoots back
noticeable
down.
drop. I mean, like
Yeah.
looking historically, and the poor people that are listening to us talking about something that they can't see. Sorry, team.
Yeah.
Like it's never declined like that before.
No.
And so it makes the mind go like, why?
Yeah.
When
yeah.
it's steadily grown to all of a sudden like that's almost like a drop in Bitcoin price.
It maybe that's the government hiring all these people, and then you know how they said, oh, we're going to because their business growth doesn't keep up anywhere near the employees hired.
It'd be fascinating to break that down by region and see if that's Wellington.
Shit, let's get out of there.
Oh, this is dangerous. We are so off track. It's great. Now, hopefully the listeners are still tuning in.
Well, okay, a couple of things from me, mate.
Yeah.
But to wrap up, is that I don't believe them. Like, I would like to believe this, but I don't believe that they've got inflation under control. We're seeing more and more clients learn more about margin and realize they're undercharging and they're going to have to get back out there and try and to make their business sustainable. They're going to have to try and increase margin and articulate the value of that to be able to get away with doing that. I then got people messaging me saying, I'm in construction, I'm in trades, we're getting weekly increase price alerts. I got one today from Smartly, for instance, as well.
Oh, price increase.
Yeah.
Yep.
From 1st of April. And I think that there's going to be more businesses looking
Sky TV.
Sky?
Yeah. Sports going up.
Really? Shit.
Heaps of value there, Sky TV.
Oh, so I don't think the price rises are over. And
I agree.
I think this reads to me like she'll be right, mate. Don't worry. We've got all this under control. It's just a little bit too perfect. Like, don't worry. We're going to protect the economy. Remember this lady came in when she got in And she said, "Oh, my sole focus is going to be the inflation. I'm going to
Inflation.
be laser focused on it." This basically says, "Oh, we're going to protect the economy over inflation. Don't worry. We think inflation will be perfectly 2% at the end of this year."
She's probably got her feet under the desk, looked at some spreadsheets and stuff, and just gone, "Oh, fuck."
Pretty big job, this.
Yeah. No, because further to that on the, inflation piece, listening to Boomer FM, earlier, and I think the Hosk was interviewing that finance guy, is it Andrew Kelleher from Something& and Partners?
Rings a bell, but I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it was him. I could be misquoted. Sue me. Send us to the BSA. But he was even saying something about the recovery this year and price increases. He didn't tie it to inflation, but my mind immediately went to, oh, yep, okay, so people see that the reaction to whatever it was that he was talking about, can't quite recall, was price increases. And I thought, well, that's inflationary. So then how on earth are these guys going to get this down under the 3%, or within, rather, the 3% band?
Yeah, and I think like food inflation's still high, insurances are, power is. It's the things that people really notice as well. I think we've joked before, but it's like, okay, great that my Samsung TV's $200 cheaper, but like I don't need another one of those,
No.
but I do need to eat every day and every week. So that's more noticeable. So yeah, I'm not convinced that they do have it under control as much as they say. However, all of this shit is external. What we are seeing internally within a lot of our clients is like they got the foot back on the gas and they're saying, let's get on with it. They're tidying up mindset. They're getting out there and they're making things happen, and they're getting some traction with the action.
Well, you were leading the pack on inflation, because if I recall, an email went out in December
Yes,
on the 90 days.
I'm responsible.
Basically, like, we're increasing our prices, and it hasn't slowed down demand. But it's inflationary because a business is gonna, like, they want it. You've got it. They want it. Let's talk. They're prepared to pay at the increased price. That's going to go onto their P&L as an expense. They'll claim the GST. That's going to change their profitability. If they want to maintain the same level of profitability, one of the levers that they've got to play with, which is just the easy one in New Zealand business, increase prices, which is inflationary.
A really quick but little tangent, but I think this highlights it, and it is a good accounting and business lesson for people, because a lot of the listeners are newer to business as well. You think about a business that's got debt. So, because what I was thinking about is people were asking you about buying a business, right? And you're doing a lot of work in that space and helping them buy their first business. But they've got to then, or maybe even second, but they've got debt that they have to repay. Now, typically a bank will then say, right, you need to pay us that money back over 5-10 years. Very different to paying a mortgage off over 30 years, and then hopefully we speed it up and do 20, then 17, and maybe 12, right? Then like try and squeeze down the time that it takes.
Speed it up. I'm becoming the American way and doing 1,500-year mortgage.
Yeah. But with business, it's like, well, we need that money back 5-10 years. And all of a sudden there's this weight of like, oh shit, that money's going to get sucked out of the bank account every bloody month. But the problem is that then you have this cash burn going out. Now, if you're competing in an industry where they don't have that debt, they can drop their pants a little bit and price cheaper. You can't, because you've still got to have enough margin in there to then be able to pay the debt. Otherwise, you're going to shrink your margin, have less left over, pay your overheads, have the cash going out, and run yourself into a hole. Now, the hole normally turns into a format of increasing an overdraft or increasing unsecured funding from a bank called the IRD. But you've got to be so careful if you're playing in like an established environment where you've got debt repayments and some of your competitors don't. And instead of them figuring out how do we make ourselves more valuable, do business development, go after the good work, what they're doing is, well, we're just going to do shit cheaper. And they can do that. They've got a bit more wriggle room because they don't have as much debt going out. And I think that's something that I've spotted a little bit of recently, where some of the people that we're speaking to are playing like, oh, we're going to decrease our margin to compete. I'm like, oh, you're going to have to be careful doing that, because, you've got less to pay that loan, and then, you could run yourself into trouble.
Between those two balance sheets, have the amount of debt that a business is carrying, and let's just call it secured bank debt rather than the Bank of IRD, but secured bank debt, if one's got none or very low compared to one that's quite highly leveraged, it's ultimately your break-even point. One's going to have a significantly lower break-even point than the other. The one that's got low debt is going to have to do bugger all sales to get to break-even before the other one does. So it's hard work for the one that's carrying a lot of debt to generate sales just to make a profit.
Yeah. So even if you don't understand any of that and you're listening for what Phil and I've just explained, the key point for you should be if you're competing with competitors that are well more established
Mm,
and you're trying to compete with them on price, like be very, very careful because
mm,
your cash outgoings could be very different from theirs. And I feel like years ago we said we're entering a balance sheet recession
mm,
where you went through the importance of a balance sheet and understanding that and how if you've got cash and you've got a good strong balance sheet, you can get through a tougher time. That's a little bit of an example of it where that business can be a little bit cute with their pricing and margins because they know that their balance sheet can withstand it compared to a business that does have debt that they have to repay.
mm.
It makes it harder for them to do it.
I would add in another final bit there on the pricing piece that don't tweak your prices unless you understand gross profit.
Nice.
If you don't understand your gross profit, don't even look at your pricing.
Mm.
It like you
That's the
must
lever, yeah.
yeah, you must understand gross profit first based on your current pricing model before going and looking at changing your pricing model without understanding the impact of gross profit. Otherwise, people are just blindly going and doing some dumb shit. And then there was a guy at the I digress a little bit. We digressed a lot on this one. A dude that was down in Wellington, I believe, and they're known for their great coffee down there. Apparently, haven't spent a lot of time in the place, and would go in and buy a coffee every day, $5 happy days. This business, according to anecdotally what they were sharing, and I don't know the name of it, cafe, was we'll put an offer out, uh, unlimited coffees, all you want for $70 in a month,
Yeah.
I think, or a week, whatever it was. Let's say it's a week, $70. The business went bust
Interesting.
because they thought the psychology would be somebody would still come in just for their one or two coffees, and they might go and they know it's capped at $70. What it did was, I'm not just having one or two coffees now. I'm coming in for 5 coffees a day,
Mm.
7 days a week, and I'm not buying the food with the extra margin in it that you thought I would. It was unsustainable,
Mm.
and they went bust. So they thought they were doing this cool little repricing thing to get some income onto the top level, without understanding the pricing impacts through to gross profit.
Far out. Yeah, I can imagine, you know,
Imagine that down at Amano.
oh, geez. Yeah, let's get down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I,
we would have the scooter back in the office, and we would be up and down
yeah,
Queen Street. I mean, what's that, 7-minute hoon?
we could do it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All green lights. Even run the reds, actually. If you just dodge the buses, you're fine. Use the bus lane up there at the Queen
Yeah,
Street
and we could put
area.
get a Temu coffee carrier
Build it.
thing on there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And within our 15-minute union allocated break, we could be there and back with our coffees.
Because that, for me, makes me think that, Darren looking for the discount, he'd be down there going, like, I'll have 4, thanks, mate. And they'll be ordering it for the team at work, like, oh, shout out the coffees. And they're just, people will always manipulate a system to its,
Absolutely.
the funny thing at the moment, this is a complete tangent, but I've got young people messaging me asking about borrowing the course-related costs to then invest it into the stock market.
Oh.
And I'm like, hey,
Do it.
that's not what the loan's for. Yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, but like,
But
yeah, but no one's really missing out. I'm like, no, but that money's still got to come from somewhere. I'm not saying don't do it, but that's not why they set that up. But I think it's a good example of, because when we were at uni, like no one was thinking about doing that. Certainly we were getting the course later costs and rinse them in the pokies, but that's high risk.
mate, I remember those days, and it went on the car,
Yeah.
mags and all that kind of shit. And I thought I was the top cool dog. Knowing what I know now, it used to be back in the kids call it the olden days.
Yeah.
If there was Sharesies or something like that back in that time, oh,
Yeah.
man, fill me
Yeah.
up. Like,
Because I think you can get $350 a week. So some of these kids are borrowing $350 a week at 0% interest, and then they're just pumping it dollar cost average every week into the market.
yes.
Yeah, and I was saying to this
I'd
bloke that I
rate
was
that.
like, mate, like at the end of the day, that is not what that was there for. And he's like, yeah, but like, fuck it, basically. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But again, it's like a good example of how humans will always take something that's set up and go,
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
gonna I'm
Yeah.
gonna exploit this as such.
Yeah, and it's good that they're prepared to do that into something that's going to have a better chance of a return on investment rather than them going, I'm going to save the money for a house.
Oh, shit. I thought you were gonna say borrowing the money to get the uni degree. Shout out to all the unis out there. Righto, mate. I feel like I had a closing thing, but maybe I don't. But anyway, another fascinating official cash rate announcement. I do think my overall thesis is that interest rates are still going to trend down to the right over time, but people are saying, no, you're wrong. They're going to go up. The economists are saying they're going to go up. I just think fundamentally the economy is still on its knees and we're not like growing out of this to a degree where we're like, oh shit, we need to really get official cash rate up.
Yeah, I think from an outlook point of view for interest rates, particularly on the residential side, I don't think they're going to go any lower.
Mm.
Like if people are looking for those sub 5 interest rates, I think we're there or thereabouts. And given that the rate is on hold, and I was going to make the comment, we should make a point of doing a podcast, and we typically do anyway, of each OCR announcement, of making a point of going back and looking at what the previous comments were, running it through Chazza or something, and go, hey, what's the theme? What's the change in language?
Yeah.
Like you did that there, and going a year in advance, we could actually do it at each announcement and just go, how wrong are these guys?
Yeah.
And then what is actually happening in interest rate markets compared to what they're trying to engineer. I don't think they're going to go, I don't believe they're going to go any lower. I think the only way from here is up. It's just a matter of when. And it's the same stuff that we keep talking about, is we know all of this stuff. Don't wait, make a decision, act, and get ahead.
Nice, mate. I think on that question about the interest rates and then comparing it to the time before, because they always review their forecast, right? Here's the graph of the forecast. It's quite hard to read.
Oh, the old OCR track.
Yeah, and it compares it to where it actually is and then where they thought it was going to be. But basically, it highlights that they're not too accurate with where they think it'll end up being.
So what you're saying is they're not very good at forecasting, which is their job.
Exactly. So, again, more weight to get on with it and focus on executing your plan and making shit happen in your business.